Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut. I gotta laugh every time I hear myself say it's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I hear myself say 3 a.m. and a little voice in my head says, "What are you doing up? What are you doing up at 3 a.m.?" Yeah, that's why I laugh. I think a lot of times I catch myself laughing when I say that. Like what am I, out of my mind? All right. Anyway, today's video, it's not about a trending news story. It's just something that I really feel the need to talk about, and I'm kind of a little conflicted on how I feel about this story. It's about two rappers. Now I'm a 57-year-old, going on 58, guy in the suburbs. Caucasian / Native American. I was raised with hard rock, so I'm not very knowledgeable about. I like all kinds of music. I love Caribbean music. I'll listen to anything. I gotta say this though. I gotta be honest. After I watched this clip, there's two clips down below. One is I think the first one is Boozy Badass, right? And his name's popped up before when it has to do with his arrests and substance abuse and stuff like that. Because I've seen videos where he looked pretty messed up. And but he looks like he's got it together in this clip. I think this is the one that came first, and he talks about getting to he's refused $250,000 to do a show for the LGBTQ community. And the way he says it, he says he's just not he doesn't have hate for this group of people, but he just doesn't agree with them. And I feel the need to talk about this. And then there's another clip down below too. This is the one I really want to talk about. This is the recent clip from TMZ. Young Jock, YUNGJOC, Young Jock. And I've never heard any music from him either. But the clip down below. When I first started watching the clip, even though I don't quite agree with him, I understand what he's saying. But then he went off the rails, and to me he just came across as insecure, and honestly he came across as ignorant. All right, so the two clips will be down below. Let me start with Boozy Badass. In this clip, he's being interviewed, and it's a long clip, and this isn't the one I'm really talking about, but he talks about refusing $250,000 to do a show for the LGBTQ community. And this all goes back. This is why I'm talking about this, because it's like a national conversation. And where does a performer or an artist have the right to draw the line as to what their creative work? And I'll be more specific in a second. So Boozy Badass says that he's turned down $250,000 to do a show for the LGBTQ community. Now, see, this is the way I see this. If you're turning down a show for a particular group of people, this is why I feel like a bit of a hypocrite, because I have turned down $1,000. I did a video about this before. I've turned down $1,000, and I actually blocked the person too. I was talking to one of the people, a guy older than me that I went to high school with, and we were always butting heads online. He was a hardcore Trump supporter. I'm not. And one day he thought he'd get the best of me, and he was serious because he worked a lot, and he made a good living, and he offered me $1,000 to commission me to do a piece of artwork for him. And I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure that he wanted me to do a portrait of Donald Trump, and to kind of, he thought he was putting me on the spot, and I just turned him down cold, and I actually blocked them. So when I see these articles, like the two down below, you have to differentiate. With me doing a piece of artwork, am I doing it like, is somebody just buying my artwork? Like say this piece, like say a Trump supporter wanted to buy this piece. I'm selling it for $1,000. Would I sell it to him? Yes, I would sell it to him. That's not a problem. I would sell it to him just like anybody else, because that's just that's what I'm in the business to do. If somebody likes my painting, I'll sell it to them. But this is where I think people aren't taking into account the creativity in this. See, now if somebody wants to commission me to do a portrait wants me to paint something that I don't agree with, that's something I don't want to paint, something that I find distasteful, like Donald Trump, I feel like I have the right to refuse it. So let's go back to the rapper here, Boozy Badass and Young Jock. Now these two said they would turn down $250,000 to perform for the LGBTQ community because they just don't. And it's not. They say they explain this. It's not because they dislike these people, or in Boozy Badass's case, he says he would knock the plate out of somebody's mouth or whatever. And, he wouldn't. He doesn't hate these people, but he doesn't feel comfortable performing in front of them. And then Young Jock went further. And this is where Young Jock got kind of ignorant. Like I said, the two clips will be down below. I'll put the Young Jock one right on top. And he just gets ignorant. He says he doesn't want to see some guy in the front row with his nipples out and lipstick on, and then he does this. He's like, winking at me as rapping back my lyrics to me. And I think about how ignorant that sounds. First of all, he's classify. He's judging all these people to look like in one particular. It's like what if I said one particular race all looks like has big afros and fro clips in their hair and a boom box on their shirt. You know what I mean? It's prejudice. It really is. And then on top of that, I've always got a kick out of this too, because when a lot of straight guys like with big beer guts and going bald and everything, and they're all worried that they're being checked out by a gay guy. And I think in the back of my head, and it's like, what makes you think that a gay guy wouldn't even just get nauseous looking at your backside? What makes you think that you're so hot to? I'm a straight guy, but I just get a kick out of this. But not in Boozy Badass's, not in Young Jock's case, because it's just the way he's making all people, he's making all people sound like they're this one particular way. Now, this is where the difference is. Like I said, I would sell a painting to a Trump supporter, something I painted. Like I said, this is kind of my trade work piece. Just like making a wedding cake for a gay couple. Now, see, this is where it gets because it's creativity. It's almost artwork on the cake. So if somebody's telling you to do something, to create something that you don't agree with. Now, like I said, in the case of the rappers, these people, the LGBTQ community, they're not asking these rappers to rap a song, their creativity, to make a song about them, about approving of their lifestyle, or I don't think it's a lifestyle. I think it's just the way people are born, one way or another, and I'm going to get to that in a second. There's a difference there. If you're selling your soul, and Boozy Badass talks about this in the clip too. He talks about, you can't buy my creativity. You can't buy, I won't sell my soul for money. And I felt the same way when this Trump supporter offered me money to paint a picture of Donald Trump. It's something I find reprehensible. And I won't take money to use my creative ability to create something that I find reprehensible. But see, like I said, in the case of these two rappers, they're performing for a group of people. Now, what if they spot somebody in the audience and that person looks gay? Are they going to have him removed? There's a fine line here between performing, like I said, selling my artwork. See, I have a gallery and I sell my artwork to everybody. I feel I have the obligation to sell my artwork to everybody equally and not judge anybody. Once it's created and I put it for sale, it's for sale to everybody, regardless. Trump supporters, anybody. Within reason. There's certain reprehensible people on this earth in prison and stuff that I wouldn't want to sell to, I think. But then there's the creative side. Like I said, creating something. But see, these rappers aren't being asked to create a song approving of the LGBTQ community. They're just asked to do their regular show. So that's like me saying I will not sell any paintings. You can't, if you come in my store and you're this or that, I'm not going to sell it to you. And I think that's wrong. So now here's the wedding cake question. Like I said, I think this has gone back and forth through different courts. There's some store owners that make these wedding cakes and they refuse because of religious differences, they refuse to sell to the LGBT or create a cake for the LGBTQ community. See, and I don't know. This is why I'm making the video, because I want to hear you guys' opinions on this. Now, like I said, this is where I think when I watched Young Jock talk about this, and then he went on to say he brought up youngsters. And he says, as long as you're not influencing youngsters, and he's going down that road. And I think if you get right down to the basic part of this, I think it's I don't know if it's a willful misunderstanding or just a misunderstanding on the part of conservatives, that this is a lifestyle choice, like choosing to buy a Ford or a Chevy. That some people, when they're young, they choose to be gay, or young kids can be influenced to be gay. You know, I remember being in kindergarten, and I swear to God, kindergarten, and I remember having a crush on a little girl. I saw her playing, I can't remember what she was playing house or something. We were literally in kindergarten. And I remember looking at her like I wanted to go play with her, and I thought we'd get married someday. And nobody, you're born one way or the other. You're not influenced. And I think I don't know if it's a willful misconception, like they're purposely doing this to be prejudiced against this community, or they really just don't understand that it's not something somebody could be influenced into or pushed or coerced into. It's the way people are born. I don't think a gay person could be straight or a straight person could be gay any more than I could change my race. That's I think that's the bottom line here. I think there just has to be a better understanding of if people open their minds and actually listen to different people talk and explain how they felt through their whole life. Maybe they could understand this a little better. And this is coming from somebody, if you know my background, what I went through when I was 11 to 14 years old. I realized that the guy that did this to me, he wasn't gay. He was a predator. There's a big difference there. And I don't hold anything against the LGBTQ community for what happened to me when I was 11 to 14. That wasn't about straight or gay. That was about a predator. That's what that was about. So anyway, I hope I made some sense. The clips will be down below. Young Jock will be on top, and then Boozy Badass. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Oh, here's one more of my pieces of artwork. I created this recently. It's a hand reaching up for help. Somebody drowning. And of course, it's got to do with drowning in addiction. That's somebody reaching up, going down for the third time, as they say. You go down 3 times when you drown. And that last reach for help, getting help for addiction. That's one of my latest creations. Oh, and there's some behind me too, some of my bigger pieces. All right, let me know what you think on this. There's different. You have to look at this in different ways. Are you talking about wanting somebody to change their creative ability, their creative passion? And paint something that I don't agree with, create something that I find distasteful, or are you talking about selling my already created pieces, like these guys performing for a crowd of people? I hope this makes some sense. Let me know what you think. I'll be back later with another video. There's more I want to talk about. I saw a recent episode on Night Watch. It's a rerun. And it shows EMTs and firefighters going to calls. I think this was in New Orleans, and there was a black mother and a black child that got into the back of the ambulance, and the EMT pulled out a little Barbie doll, and it was a little Caucasian Barbie doll, and gave it to the little black girl. And I felt uncomfortable watching this. I wonder how the mother and daughter felt about this. And then I remember I had a black Action Jackson doll, or action figure, I'm sorry. I had a G.I. Joe and an Action Jackson black action figure when I was a kid, and I was fine with it. I had them fight and go on missions and all that. That's my next video. You guys have a good Thursday.